hadn't seen this season yet is just how they're going to respond, and we talked about it all week. It was, obviously a little bit of a frustrating game because we didn't play up to the standard I think we can play at. There's just some things that, our tackling wasn't what it usually is. A lot of credit to those guys. They have those fast speed guys. The offense is set up for that. Dawkins can get out of stuff. It's amazing. And then, towards the end there, we come out of coverage. We can talk about our red zone offense. We can talk about our short yardage offense. We probably need a month to clean up all these things that we need to improve on. But I'm really proud of how these kids responded and, just kept fighting.
We asked all week about that, facing adversity and being challenged for the first time. What's the overwhelming feeling now that you have to?
I really knew we would be, and I think they heard the message. I don't know if they thought it was going to go like this because I think we have a lot more to us in terms of how we played. I thought we played pretty sloppy at times for us, just a couple things. Now, they got good players on the other side of the field, and they took advantage, and they created some errors on our part. But we just really wanted to go through something that was going to be hard, and I think teams can get confidence from going through things that are hard, and they respond when it's not going like it should, and when it's frustrating, because those things are frustrating.
What was it that enabled Levon Coleman to break loose a couple of times? He had a really good game.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I'd start with the O-line. Some of those plays were blocked very, very clean. And he's a guy that his skill set is line him up deep behind the quarterback and put the quarterback under center and hand him the ball. That's where he's at his best. And he's a downhill runner. And his vision looked good. And he'll break arm tackles. We're proud of how he ran.
Anything else, Smith?
You said you need a month to maybe clean up some of the stuff. You've only got 6 days.
Yeah. And so we got a lot of work to do in 6 days. And so we work. I mean, the process doesn't change. We go back to work on Monday practice, and so even though we're preparing for our next opponent, we got to take care of ourselves. We got to figure some things out, and that's our whole message always. Is like, we're trying to improve. As corny as that sounds, it's very common and very easy for those guys just to go out to practice, put the game plan in, but that's not what we're trying to do. We're trying to practice hard, we're trying to practice physical, we're trying to get better, and we need to.
I don't want to say you guys think you maybe underestimated Dawkins, but it was only his 3rd career start. Didn't surprise you guys?
I don't think you underestimate those guys. Anytime you got a running quarterback like that, it's really hard and really frustrating. If things aren't there, I've said it. The 3 guys that we played up to this point don't run like he runs, but they're frustrating because you cover guys right, then you start scrambling around, guys come out of coverage, they're hard to tackle in space, and when the guy's that fast, you miss him, he makes you pay.
Any moments in the game where you had to check out everybody's focus or anything like that when things were going wrong? You said you were wondering about how they'd respond to adversity. Was there any moment where you had to do some coachy things to buck them up?
I thought they were pretty good. They might have been better than me because I was so irritated and frustrated much of the game. But they were great at halftime. I thought they were really good on the sideline. I thought they were good because I think that they know that there was a lot of frustration that we can be better than that in some areas. But they just kept playing, and there wasn't any complaining or anything like that.
Is this the sort of outcome you guys were kind of chasing last year? When it comes down to the wire, and maybe now guys are a year older and you can pull it out.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. Those are the games. All those games we were in, we just couldn't finish. Felt a little bit different. Where this was a game that I think it kind of felt like to everybody that we should have been much more in control, but we weren't. But nevertheless, we came back and finished when we had to. So I do think that there's some maturity and growth there.
Is there anything with Cameron Van Winkle? I don't think he's ever really struggled like this in his career.
Yeah. Well, he missed 2, and one was off the crossbar. And, we get knocked back in the red zone. I don't know how far those field goals were, but, those things happen. He's a good kicker, the ball jumps off his foot pretty good. He'll be back.
Defensively in the first quarter, they were just running up and down the
Yeah.
field. In
Yeah.
the second and third quarter, you seemed to contain them pretty well. What was the difference?
I just think they settled down, and got off blocks, and I really do. I think it was that. Then Coach K was mixing up some calls, but I think it was just more of getting into the rhythm of those guys. I mean, they run inside zone a million times, and they're very good at it, and those backs can find those creases. Sometimes it takes a minute for those D linemen to fit those blocks and figure out how to get off them, and then with linebackers to see things.
And when J.J. Taylor went out, what difference did that make?
Well, he's an elusive guy, and so I think anytime you're losing guys that are in there making plays, it's it's hard. It's hard when you lose guys like that. Whether we lose them, whether they lose them. I know he's a weapon.
You're aware that he broke his ankle?
No, that's a bummer. That's hard. Yeah.
You talked at Pac-12 Media Day about Stanford being a game last year where you guys just got physically beat up. It's a year later. How did you make sure that changes on Friday?
Well, that's a good question. We'll see. Their style is completely different than we've seen for the last 4 weeks. It used to be these spread offenses and these running quarterbacks and all those things were what we hadn't seen. And now it's two backs and pound you and all kinds of linemen. That's what's different. So we'll see. I think one thing last year too is we didn't get much done on offense. They played really good. Stanford played really good on defense and shut us down. And I always think that the offense, defense have to work in tandem. Defense can only hold up so long if the offense isn't producing. We got like one run or something, and then Dante got a late touchdown. Or we just weren't. It wasn't close enough to keep our defense inspired, in my opinion.
So short week. Are you going to be looking at film already on the plane home?
There's no doubt. I think some guys have probably already. We've planned for about 3 weeks for this short week. I mean, this is really hard. Playing this game on a Friday against this really good team. School starting. We've had to do a bunch of different things, move practice times around, but we've worked on it for 3 weeks, and we think we got a good plan to give us a chance to compete on a short week.
Were you surprised that Arizona didn't go for 2 at the end of the fourth quarter?
Not really. Those are always, they're at home and get it to overtime and all those type of things. Everybody's got to, I think those things sometimes are a feel things.
All right.
Okay. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, everybody.